Well, to the surprise of all 12 people who didn't think this would happen, Deadpool and Wolverine has finally grossed $1 billion, which is still wild to say because this is an R-rated movie. This has only happened twice in all of history. But the real question is still to remain. Will this be the highest grossing movie of the year? So obviously the only competition that it really has now is Inside Out 2, which has currently, by the time of the recording this, has made $1.5 billion. Chances are by the end of the run, it's probably going to make about 1.6 billion. And so that's the number really to beat. That's the number it has to reach, 1.6 billion. That now then wondering about that. Can Deadpool and Wolverine actually reach that number? Can it actually outgross Inside Out 2 and become the highest grossing movie of this year? No. Now, okay, with that being said, let's just look at the numbers real quick. So, if you actually compared the first 3 weeks of Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, they're actually both very similar. Actually, Deadpool and Wolverine has made a little bit more than Inside Out 2. However, Inside Out 2 does have one thing that it has going for it, and that it's a family movie. So it's not just the idea that family members they're all going together to the movies, so they're paying for more tickets, so more money is going to the studios. It's not just that. It's that when you have a family movie releasing during the summer, the kids aren't at school. The kids aren't going to school, so they don't have the weekday money to rack in. However, when it's summertime, then kids aren't going to school and they're going out to the movie theaters more often. And so when you release a family movie during the summer, you kind of get that little bit of a boost for the overall numbers of having a lot more people going during the weekday. And Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't have that. You're not going to bring your little 8-year-old kid to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. At least I hope not. It's more of an adults only thing. And so you don't have that boost for the overall numbers because again, like it doesn't really affect the weekend numbers that much. It's more of just like the final worldwide gross. That's what you're focusing on. And so when you look at that, you will start to notice as time goes on, Inside Out 2 has a very, very strong hold on the overall weeks of all the money coming in as compared to Deadpool and Wolverine, which is more of a weekend type movie. It's also just not the domestic box office that we have to look at. We have to look at the rest of the world. And around the world, Disney movies are pretty popular. And I mean, superhero movies definitely do have a lot of audience members throughout the entire world that love to see these films. But if you look at Pixar and then if you look at Deadpool, really, Pixar has far more fans worldwide rather than looking at Deadpool. And that's not to say that people don't love Deadpool. People love Deadpool around the world. But it's really Pixar that's like the big family thing that all families across the entire world can go see. It's a big fun thing that you can just do, and the chances are these movies are going to be great. And I mean, you don't really have that same effect for Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's not me saying that this movie isn't making a lot of money. I mean, it's making $1 billion already. However, when these big blockbusters, you look at them, they're really front heavy. The bulk of their money will be coming in the first 2 or 3 weekends. Really, the first 2 weekends. That's the biggest, where most of the money is going to be coming from. And so they still make money as it goes down to like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth weekend, but not a whole lot. Not anywhere near the amount of money they make at the beginning. And so I think that Deadpool and Wolverine had a very strong start, but to have enough momentum to make $600 million and outgross Inside Out 2, I mean, is it impossible? No. I can see a world where this could happen. I think that there is a chance that Deadpool and Wolverine could outgross Inside Out 2. But is it likely? That's the question we should be asking. Is it likely that Deadpool and Wolverine is going to outgross Inside Out 2? I don't think the odds are great for it. We should also focus on what movie's coming out pretty soon. So Alien Romulus is coming out this weekend. And that is going to most likely take up a lot of money with the adults audience because, I mean, it's pretty popular. The Alien franchise is a very popular franchise. A lot of people are probably going to consider watching the new Alien movie rather than rewatching Deadpool and Wolverine for either like third, fourth time, because a lot of people love to be rewatching this movie. And but even past that, we also have movies like The Crow, Blink Twice, like these other movies that are probably going to take up a lot of the audience too. And so I'm not saying that Deadpool and Wolverine's just going to completely fall flat, like it's going to all completely plummet. People are still going to go watch this movie, a lot of people. But is it enough people to keep it in the race of the top grossing movie of the year? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be enough. And that's of course not saying like even if it does end up becoming the second highest grossing movie of the year, that's still a good thing. That is still an insanely good thing that Disney has not the number one highest grossing movie of the year, but also the number two highest grossing movie of the year. That is still a very good year, a very, very good year for Disney. So it's not like even if it doesn't become the highest grossing film, it's not like it's a letdown. It's not like they failed at what they were trying to do. It was a wild thing to even think about to begin with if an R-rated movie could actually be the highest grossing film of the year. I mean, only recently did it ever even begin to reach the billions of dollars, let alone becoming the number one movie of the year. It wasn't likely, and I think just a small group of people actually thought it could do it. However, there is one more thing I want to talk about. Another thing that's not talking about the competition with Inside Out 2. I want to talk about another thing that I've been seeing online for a lot of this topic, and it's something that just frustrates me so much. So every time you see a big movie like this reach $1 billion, or especially like when Adventures Endgame for a little bit of time became the highest grossing film of all time, there was always a small group of people that were like, actually, if you adjusted for inflation, then it's not actually the highest grossing film of the year. Deadpool and Wolverine, it really didn't make as much money as they're liking to trying to make it sound like. That frustrates me so much. I hate every time when somebody mentions inflation. They say that if you looked at Gone with the Wind, that technically made what, like $3 billion? It's such a stupid thing to bring up, and every time I see it, it makes me so insanely frustrated. You know what's something that they don't bring up when they mention Gone with the Wind with making that much money? You want to know, with early movie theaters, you know what was the biggest thing that drove so many people to go see movies? They were the only buildings that consistently had good AC. Nowhere else could you go and experience, like, sit down and like be relied on that the building will have AC. And movie theaters were the only place where you could go there, sit down, have a fun, enjoyable experience watching a movie, and sit in the AC. People don't like to bring that up, but that's secretly why movie theaters were the biggest thing in all of America. It's because they were the place to go for AC. And back then, during the summertime, during the summer of the heat, you wanted to sit in AC, and so what could you do? You could either sit around with a little fan, cooling yourself off, or you could go to the movie theaters, just pay a little bit of money to watch a good movie, and then you can just sit, enjoy it with your family in the nice, cool AC. People don't like to mention that. But you know what? I've heard another argument about how if you looked at Deadpool and Wolverine ticket sales versus The Exorcist, they didn't make as much tickets as they did because movies tickets cost more now. And to that I say, who cares? It's genuinely kind of sad that people are trying to find all these statistics about ticket sales to try to make Marvel sound worse than it actually is. It's just a sad attempt to try to make it all look so much worse than it actually is. There's no point in it. Inflation is just a thing that happens, okay? It doesn't matter at all. Nobody cares. You're the only people that try to look at everything and see all this little bits of inflation and make it seem like much more bigger of a deal than it actually is. In reality, no person who actually realistically looks at the box office actually takes into account inflation. You just look at the numbers and that's just all they are. They're just the numbers. You just focus on those being the numbers and that's it. You don't look at each and individual statistic about all the inflation facts and every little thing and judge that this movie was not successful as the numbers say. Guess what? The numbers don't lie. And you want to know what the numbers are saying? This is a movie that's getting a lot of people into the theaters. A lot of people are going to this. And it doesn't matter how much money it is for accounting for inflation. A lot more people are going to see this movie as compared to any other movie. What does that say? People are loving this movie. People are enjoying it. People are going to the theaters back and seeing it. It's just a pointless argument to talk about inflation, and it's redundant. It's tiring. It's so exhausting to see people every time this happens, especially when Avengers Endgame became the highest grossing movie. People are always like, Gone with the Wind made more money. Newsflash. Nobody cares at all. You're the only people that care. And it's a thing that I just had to say. I had to just let it out and say it to someone because it's so frustrating every time I see it. But, I mean, with that rant over, I mean, what did you think about this? I mean, do you agree with me, disagree with me? I'd love to hear everything you think. And I mean, comment down below just all your thoughts on it. And if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, share the video if you want. It all really greatly helps me out. And that's really all I have to say about the movie making $1 billion. I'm really happy for it. I'm really happy for Marvel, for Disney, for everyone. It's really just a win for just movie enjoyers. And with that all being said, that's really all I have to say. So that's movie talk. See ya.